Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome back to the Grand Prix World Series. My name is Topher Smith, and we are near crunch time in the championship. One of our titles has already been decided as Callum Ilott took home the League 2 Drivers' Championship last time out in Sepoong. But what about the rest of his fellow drivers? Well, as we can see by the driver's standings, Callum Ilott, as I said, has already won the championship on 189 points. Tomoki Najiri second on 133, Jake Dennis on 111, Alex Palou on 104. Alex Palou leading the championship in the early stages of the season, but has since fallen away and cannot win the championship now. Nick de Vries fifth on 90 ahead of Ryo Hirakawa on 89, Stoffel van Dorn on 77, Ritomo Miyata on 74, Kimi Antonelli on 73, and rounding out the top 10, Nick Cassidy on 67. And while the League 2 Drivers' Championship is decided, the Teams' Championship is still up for grabs. Carlin leading the way on 278 points, and it looks like it will just be a formality for them to clinch the championship. They have already clinched promotion into League 1 next season, and looking to join them are Andretti on 219, Prema on 214, Ram on 156, and Dome on 141. The orange line there denoting who can still be promoted into League 1 next season, while the red line says who can still mathematically win it, even though, like I said earlier, it looks like it will be Carlin taking home that particular trophy on this occasion. Also in League 2, Zach Speed on 118, Scuderia Colonia on 89, 40 on 69, Dams on 55, Surtees on 44, Real on 32, Tolman on 21, and LaRousse on 6. Those teams not fighting for anything in particular anymore, except for a bit of personal pride to see out the season. So, could Carlin potentially secure the League 2 Teams Championship today? Well, they've gone the right way about it in qualifying, with our new champion Callum Ilott putting it onto pole position, breaking Dome's run of pole positions that has gone back the last 5 races before today. Nick Cassidy, though, still on the front row in second, a 10th behind the reigning champion. Louis Foster leads an all-Prema second row ahead of Tomoki Najiri. Jake Dennis 5th alongside Stoffel van Dorn, and then Ryo Hirakawa, Colton Herter, Matt Campbell, and Alexander Rossi rounds out the top 10. Rossi doing a very good job in the Real to get into the top 10 there. Kimi Antonelli in the Scuderia Colonia will be 11th ahead of Luke Browning in the 40 Corsa. Victor Martins 13th alongside Paul Aron in the first Tolman. Alex Palou, one of our championship contenders earlier on, still not qualifying very well this season, and he will line up 15th today ahead of Maximilian Gunter, Jess Hawkins, Tazana Polin-Chapuvasak, Teo Porcher, and Abby Pulling inside of the top 20. While at the back, Dennis Hauger, Matteo Caroli, and Ritomo Miyata had an absolutely dreadful qualifying session. No penalties as there are for the likes of De Vries, Moore, and O'Ward. But Miyata in the first part of qualifying, getting his flying lap all wrong and making a mistake which left him 3.6 seconds off the benchmark set by Ilott. And then in the second part of qualifying, when he had a chance to redeem himself, he ended up in the barrier. So not a very good qualifying session for Miyata. The only way will be forward for the Japanese, and we can't wait to see how he gets on and how he climbs up through the field. Well, let's not waste any more time getting this one underway. Let's get over to our regular commentator, Tom Cairns, ready and waiting to call the action on this penultimate day of the season. Tom, ready when you are.
Callum Ilott goes into Sepang as the League 2 Drivers' Champion, but Carlin still have the Teams' Championship to wrap up, and Andretti and Prema look to seal promotion to League 1 this afternoon. 5 red lights are coming on now. Lights on! Lights off! It's go in Sepang. Callum Ilott does not get off to a good start. Nick Cassidy getting the jump on him off the line, and he's going to lead into turn 1 first before they even get to the right-hander. Cassidy takes over leadership, and it's Najiri who gets into second place ahead of Ilott, and it looks like Jake Dennis maybe sending a move around the outside of the Brit as they come out of turn 2. Ilott not getting off to a good start at all by any stretch of the imagination. Meanwhile, Nick Cassidy gets the jump on him, as he so needs to do to keep Dome's slim hopes of promotion alive. Cassidy leads, Najiri second, it's Dennis, Ilott, Louis Foster is 5th, Colton Herter, Ryo Hirakawa, Stoffel van Dorn, Alexander Rossi and Matt Campbell round out the top 10. The cars filtering their way through rounds this Sepang International Circuit, located in the Malaysian capital of Kuala Lumpur. And so they are coming round, as you see Matt Campbell in position there, just inside the top 10 as far as we know. Cassie pulling away, as he so needs to do at this stage of the season. Dome didn't get either of their cars to the end in Sepoong last time out, as they so needed to have done. It's left them with an almighty miracle to get promotion sealed. Obviously it won't be sealed for them here, whatever happens. They will want to keep the fight going to Phillip Island for the last round in Australia. As the drivers cross over the line to complete lap 1, it's a 41 lap race. Some drivers will be doing the 2-stop, others will be doing the 1. And there we see a move from Alexander Rossi through on Matt Campbell. I think Campbell got ahead of him at the last turn before the lap was out, but Rossi was able to respond to it and go back into 9th position. Third up ahead, Colton Herter, who's back after a 1-race ban for running into Nick de Vries in Old Topless. And talking which of de Vries, he's just come into the pits at the end of lap 1, presumably with damage to his machine. So that has left Andretti with more work to do than desired if they were to seal promotion today. And Ilott, who's trying to get through on the other Andretti of Jake Dennis, but to no avail. As far as what Andretti need, all they need to do is to not be outscored by Ram by 18 points and more, and for Dome to not outscore them by 33 points or more. So it's not like they need to outscore anyone, they just need to make sure they're not being outscored by those two teams by too many points in this round. Right on board with Tommy Kanejiri in 2nd place ahead of Jake Dennis. And there we see Alexander Rossi, who's under attack again from Matt Campbell. Now we're looking at the Dams of Pato Award in 23rd position ahead of Ritomo Miata, who had a really dismal qualifying session. And he goes through on Award. But Miata's got a lot of work to do to keep Dome's hopes for promotion alive. And Cassie is in the lead now. And there we see Luke Browning, who tries to get through on Victor Martin into turn 1. But the move very nearly ended in disaster. That could have been both of them into the gravel trap. Looking at a replay of Browning, who sent the move up the inside of Martin. No contact was made, I don't think. Martin did very well to read into Browning's presence. Keeps hold of 11th place for the time being. Cassidy comes out of turn 4 over a second clear of Jake Dennis, who is also in a battle with Tommy Kanejiri for 2nd place in the Drivers' Championship. Now Najiri could seal 2nd place in the championship if he outscores Dennis by at least 6 points in this race. The main priority for the team is to get promotion to League 1 sorted. Prima are in a similar situation to Andretti in regards to what they need. They don't need to outscore anyone, but they need to make sure they don't get outscored by Ram or Dome by too many points. Najiri, 3rd place ahead of Ilott, who's trying to fight back after a really poor start. Ilott's pole position brought an end to Dome's streak of 5 poles in a row. It's Ilott's 4th pole of the season, which is as many as race wins he's picked up so far this campaign. And now he's on the attack on Tommy Kanejiri. Ilott on the inside of the Japanese, and he is through into 3rd place. It was a clean overtake by the Brit, underline why he is the League 2 Drivers' Champion. And the Only 1 point scored in the first 3 races, but since then Ilott has accumulated 188 points, plus the point he's picked up for pole position here in Sepang. A remarkable run of form. He's finished on the podium 8 times in the last 10 races. Right on board with Sarah Moore. He's running in 25th position. The only driver behind her is Nick de Vries, who came into the pits at the end of lap 1. Now we have a look at Kimi Antonelli, who attempts to get through on Taz Inthapuvasak in the 40. But he didn't quite make it there. And in the foreground, we just saw Matt Campbell complete a pass on Alexander Rossi to 9th position. And there we see Ilott, who got through on Nigeri at the beginning of this lap. Next man ahead of him is Jake Dennis, a fellow Brit as well. Cassidy doing everything he needs to do so far. 10th place in the Drivers' Championship so far this season. The win in Parnu is the only win he's picked up. You see Jess Hawkins going through on Kimi Antonelli for 14th position. Going back to what I was saying about Cassidy, he's led so many races of which he's failed to finish in. He was leading for a bit in Zolder before retiring. He also pulled out on the last lap in Dijon-Bourgogne whilst leading. He was also leading in Mugello. In Istanbul. I think he was running towards the top end as well. Now you look at rounds in Anderstorp, Suhai and Ortopolis, where the car just simply broke down on him, as well as the closing stages in the last rounds in Sepoong. So many wins have slipped away from Dome this season. That has been pretty much the diagnosis of their campaign. We're looking at a Tolman going through on a Le Roux. That is Dennis Hauger on Abby Pullin. There we see Cassidy. Dennis and Ilott are further back. Louis Foster is in 5th place behind his teammate. Ria Hirakawa is in 6th. Tom Hertzer running well in 7th for Dams. It's Van Dorn in 8th for Zach Speed. Matt Campbell 9th for Ram. And it's Alexander Rossi in 10th place for Real. There is Dennis in 2nd place, holding off Ilott. So the 2 Carlins and the 2 Premers are in 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th. Max Gunter, meanwhile, on the move past Alex Palou. And that move is done for 18th. We're on the 6th lap of the race. The drivers are settling into a rhythm and no collisions have been made so far in this event, which is good to see. As you can see, Cassidy pushing hard on the exit of turn number 8. Doing very well to keep it on the island. Topher Miata, who starts at the back, is making his way through the field into 15th position. Cassidy ahead of Dennis. And then it's Ilott ahead of Najiri and Foster. Hirakawa, Hertzer, Van Dorn, Campbell. And Rossi still inside the top 10. Ritero Miata going past the Coloni of Kimi Antonelli. 14th position is his. The next driver ahead of him is the 40 of Taz Inthapuvasak. You see the field, Cassidy's lead has come down to 0.8 of a second over Dennis. Herter, Van Don, Campbell, Rossi. Martin just outside the points in 11th. Jake Dennis holds the point for the fastest lap at this moment in time. You see the field filtering their way through. Turns 9 and 10. It's great to see them performing well as we see Miata through on into the Poversack for 13th position. Another position gain there for the Dome. Miata's fight back has been pretty spirited so far. With Matteo Caroli, who's just ahead of Sarah Moore, back up for 24th place. Caroli was running in the points before he dropped out last time in Sepoong. Just 5 points scored all season for him. And Jake Dennis locks up into turn 1 in front of Ilott, which won't help his cause. We're going to see a replay. Chasing after Cassidy. Dennis locks up and does very well to just get back onto the race line before Ilott was alongside. That will give Cassidy a little bit of a buffer for the time being. With in P1, going for his second Grand Prix Series victory. Callum Ilott has a chance to break a new record in the Grand Prix Series. If he finishes on the podium, he'll become the first driver in history to achieve a podium finish in 5 consecutive rounds. And there he goes on the inside of Jake Dennis into turn 9, and Callum Ilott is back into second place. The Lead 2 Drivers Champion on the move once more, and that move was coming all along since Dennis made that lock up into turn 1. Brilliant stuff there from Ilott. He's through. Further back, Miata's got through on Luke Browning for 12th place. Absolutely on form today after a really appalling qualifying session. There is Martin just ahead. Martin is behind Rossi for position as well. We want to get through on as many of these drivers as possible before the pit stops arrive, which won't be, I don't think, until like another 6 or 7 laps. Look at Alex Below on the inside of Teo Porcher for 19th place. It must feel like a long time ago since Alex Below was leading the championship, finishing the top 5 in each of the first 4 races, but hardly had gone right for him since. He's only finished in the top 5 on 3 occasions since he finished 3rd in the 4th race of the season in Zolder. We've got a pit stop over at LaRousse already. It's Matteo Caroli who's picked up an issue, which has forced him into pit road. And that's not going to be a pleasing sight for team manager Chris Hosey. And we're going to have our first retirement of the race. Paul Aron has picked up an issue in the Tolman, and he pulls off at turn 7. And on lap number 9, his race is over. And it's a suspension problem on the right rear that has forced him to retire. It's one of Michael Gillespie's cars out of the race. Aaron goes no further. Topher Miata is continuing to make his way through the field. He's got through on Martin. He's now going through on Alexander Rossi. Up into the points goes Ritomo Miata, the man who had won in Zhuhai a few rounds ago. He's continuing to make light work of these drivers. As you can see, Corolla, he's down in 25th position after needing to come in for repairs. Going on to the Season 5 calendar as we are coming towards the end of Season 4. We begin in the Caribbean for round 1, and it's off to Brazil in Campo Grande. La Plata in Argentina is next, followed by Indianapolis. We then go to Rockingham in the UK. It's off to Dijon-Bourgogne in France, Jerez in Spain, Mugello in Italy, Hockenheim in Germany for round 9, which will also be the venue for the mid-season test. And it's off to Poznan in Poland, Brno in the Czech Republic, Parnu in Estonia, hosting the last European round of the season, before we head to the African continent in Marrakesh, Morocco for round 13, followed by Kyalami in South Africa, New Delhi in India for round 15, Fuji in Japan will be returning, and then the penultimate round will be at the same venue as you are watching, Sepang, Malaysia, and the 18th and final championship round of the season will be in Adelaide, Australia. There is also the non-championship Macau Grand Prix to go with that as well. As it stands with the positions as they are, Carlin will be the League 2 teams champions. Prema and Andretti will be going up to League 1 with them. It's a long way to go yet though. Drivers coming through the left and the right. Turns 5 and 6. Cassie is able to bridge the gap up to 2.3 seconds over Ilott. We don't know for certain who is doing what in regards to strategy. I think given by Miata's pace, I would expect him to be doing the 2, which I believe is what most of the field will be doing. Look at Sarah Moore, twice a points finisher this season. It's uncertain where her future in the Grand Prix Series will be at next season, but to be fair, it's the same for everyone else. Team managers will be involved in the driver draft system to determine who will get what. We'll leave that for Topher Smith to run down on another occasion. Jess Hawkins going through on what looked like Taz Inthapuvasak for position. I think if Inthapuvasak is going to try and get back through here in the slipstream of the Surtees, and he should go back through on the inside into turn 1. So a good overtake for the Thai driver, who has impressed since he stepped in place of Sacco Sullivan. You can see the drivers coming through turns 7 and 8 again. This is lap number 12. We are not too far away from pit stops. Miata's got the gap down between him and 9th place Matt Campbell. It's just under 1.5 seconds. And there we see Alex Palou going a little too deep into 8, and that's going to allow Pato Ward to get alongside, and Palou loses the position. Not good news for him. Carlin have picked up 5 wins this season. With Ilott and Hirakawa didn't win any in their first campaign in Season 3. But if they were to win today, they'll move in front of Marscard, Lola, Prost, Manor and HRT on the all-time list. Low coming back through on O'Ward at the last turn. There we see Luke Brown in. I think just lost the position to the Coloni of Kimi Antonelli, and now he's about to get back on the inside, and Hawkins comes back through on Intha Puvasak. Prix, who came in at the end of lap 1 for repairs, is in 24th place and about 11 seconds behind Sarah Moore. At least he's been making the best use of the clear track to try and gain some time. There we look at Cassidy, doing his best so far. Don't need an almighty miracle. They need to outscore heavily on Andretti and Prima to keep it going. Not outscoring them by enough points yet. Six tenths is the margin between Matt Campbell and Ritomo Miata. Go into that battle in a moment because Miata will be coming up behind the Australian. This is Alex Blow going back through on Pato Award at the 15th and final corner of this 5.4 kilometre racetrack of Sepang. Or 5.5 kilometres I should say. 3.4 miles if you prefer. Now, Nick de Vries, Sarah Moore and Pato Ward picked up back of the grid penalties for their shenanigans at the last round in Sepoong. It certainly hasn't helped Nick de Vries' cause. Either he ran into the back of someone or his rear wing might have taken damage. We don't know for certain because we didn't quite pick up on it. And we look at Cassidy, who once again is going to be pulling out of the race lead. And that ends Dome's hopes for promotion this season without a shadow of a doubt. It's game over for another season. Great news for Andretti and Prima, but it's not mathematically done yet because Ram can still mathematically outscore them by enough points to take it to the last round in Phillip Island. But even that is at very slim odds. Cassidy retires from the lead on lap 14. Ilott goes back into the lead. Dennis is second and Najiri third. Ritomo Miata got through on Matt Campbell whilst we were looking at Cassidy pulling out, and he's into 8th position. But even that is little consolation for team manager David Young. And we've got another one pulling out. It's the 40 of Luke Browning. Not 100% sure what is the cause yet, but we'll find out when the marshals pull that car away. My imagination is that it's a gearbox issue. And it is a gearbox issue for the young Brit. The car is lifted over the barrier. And the man who'll be racing in Formula 2 in 2025 pulls out of this race, and look at his teammates, as in for Puvasek, is having a difficult time of it as well. Through turn 9 in front of Max Gunter. Ilott completing his 15th lap. Look at Jake Dennis in P2 and Jude in 3rd place. Max Gunter going through on the 40 of Intha Puvasek. 3 drivers out of the race now. Luke Browning, Nick Cassidy and Paul Laron. 23 still going, including Nick de Vries, who will be, I think he's in 22nd place now, because we knew that Matteo Caroli came into the pits to get something repaired, and he's behind the Dutchman. I haven't seen any scheduled pit stops yet. So it could be that most of the field are doing the one stops, but we'll see at the end of this lap whether we are going to be seeing anyone coming in. Cheering behind Dennis. 3rd place. In the Drivers' Championship will go down to the last round as it stands. Behind the jury is Foster, who's doing his bit as well. He needs to remain where he is. He'll move into the top 10 in the Drivers' Championship. And we've got pit lane activity over at Carlin and at Andretti. Ilott and Dennis are both into the pits, as is the Dams of Colton Herter. Tomek Inajiri takes over the race lead. Just see the field coming through. So that Ilott and Dennis have rejoined the race in 9th and 10th places. You can just see Louis Foster trying to keep his car on the track. Lap 16, where we've seen the 2 stoppers come in. It's a Prima 1 and 2. If anyone wants this season, which came in Mugello, where Najiri had 1. Still enough to see him stay in the fight for the League 2 Drivers' Championship until the last round in Sepoong. Try and get another win today. If he was to win, that is more or less 2nd place in the Drivers' Championship sealed for the Japanese. And we've got a retirement coming at Carlin this time. And it's Ryo Hirakawa, who yet again, for the 3rd race in a row, is not going to be finishing unless he can get his car back to the pits, and he does so. Follows what looks like Ritomo Miyata into the pit lane, and he's a very lucky man, is Ryo Hirakawa. So do they refuel the car? They do refuel it, and he's going to be going to the end. He could be a decisive factor in how this race gets decided. So he stays in the race, does Hirakawa, but he'll have lost time en route to the pit lane. He joins in 16th position. So we've had Martin. Oh, we've got a driver off. It's Jake Dennis. He's had a spin onto the grass on the exit of turn 2. Disaster for the Andretti team. Team manager Linus O'Howell cannot believe what he'll be seeing. This is very much unlike Jake Dennis. Andretti have got it all to do in this race, but bearing in mind that one of the domes are already out of the race, it'll make their job easier, but it certainly won't be easier with Dennis trying to get out of there, and he'll have to let his teammate go through before he can rejoin. So, Andretti, who could have been fighting at the front with either of their cars, well, they're now at the back, and not only that, Dennis's front wing is damaged, and that's his race ruined. There's a pit stop over at Prix. Louis Foster comes in for his first scheduled stop, and it's Topher van Dorn in the Zack Speed who takes over the lead. We're seeing more cars heading in. Matt Campbell, I think we saw the Riel duck into the pits as well. That must be Max Gunter. So as if the pub site is also in. There is Porsche going past Matteo Caroli. Now we look at Brito Miata, who's in 8th position after pitting in, and that's a very timely pit stop he has made, and it's helped him get up as high as where he is now. 23rd on the grid, up to 8th place so far. It's behind Louis Foster, who's just been in. Now for Carlin to win the team's championship today, they don't need to outscore anyone, but they can't be outscored by Andretti or Prima by too many points. If Ilott was to win this race, he'll become only the second driver in Grand Prix World Series history to win in 3 consecutive rounds. Antonio Felix da Costa did it last season at Minardi, who took victory. I'm just trying to remember which rounds he did it. It was Pinonia, Valencia, and in Buenos Aires. Najiri posts a new fast stop of the race, 141.7. It was Jake Dennis who had that. It's now no longer his. And we look at Abby Pullim, who's in 21st position ahead of Nick de Vries, who is going to be trying to get back into the points. Jake Dennis, well, there's nothing too much that can be said about his race after that horrible mistake he had at turn 2. As it stands with the positions as they are, Jury will be sealing second place in the League 2 Drivers' Championship. The battle for third place in the Drivers' Championship will go down to the last race at Phillip Island. Van Dorn leads the race for the time being in the Zack Speed, but he is still yet to make his stop. We expect him to be doing the one. There goes Kimi Antonelli, who does a 360 on the exit of turn 8. And he gets going again very, very quickly. Antonelli keeps going. He's about to be overtaken by Alex Palou into turn 9. Van Dorn into the pits at the end of lap 20. And Ilott takes over leadership. Alexander Rossi has stayed out in the Rio, and he's got the Prima of Tomoki Najiri looming in behind. We see Ritomo Miata, who's going for it. This is on Patrick Ward as Van Dorn leaves the pits, and he'll have some clean air when he comes out, will Van Dorn, or at least he should. Well, not anymore now, actually. But there we see the championship as it stands. With the way things are going, Carlin will be the League 2 teams champions. They had already sealed promotion to League 1 last time out in Sepang. Prima and Andretti will be joining them in the top flight with the positions as they are. All 3 promotion places will be sealed today if the positions remain as they are. And there goes Louis Foster, who tries to get through on Colton Hertz, 4th position, and that was so nearly the pair of them going off the racetrack. In 2nd place. Alexander Rossi in 3rd. Jury just got by the American. It was at turn 9 where he got the job done at. Louis Foster holds the point for the fastest lap. He's taken that away from his teammate. Having a very good race so far. He stays out for another lap, which is interesting. Matt Campbell on the inside of what looks like Ryo Hirakawa. Will the Japanese respond to that? Well, the problem for him is that he's got Stoff Van Don, who has just pitted, attempting to go through. Well, Hirakawa is retaliating to Campbell, and he's got through on him into turn 1. I think Campbell let him by so easily that he might have picked up an issue of some sort, but he's keeping up with Hirakawa. So a good battle intensifying between those two. Matt Sconser comes into the pits for Rial. I think he's already been in the pits as well, Sconser, so I think he's picked up a problem of his own, which is a shame. Gone past the halfway point here in Sepang in League 2. So far so good for Carlin, Andretti and Prima. Van Dorn has overtaken Campbell for 9th place. Next right ahead of him will be the Carlin of Ryo Hirakawa, who hasn't scored in the last 3 races. He'll want to put that right today. And there we see Rossi being passed by Louis Foster, and he stays out for another lap, does Rossi. There is Ilott, and I think Rossi's losing a lot of time at the moment. Petter Award comes in for his only stop for Dams. And there we see Van Dorn through on Campbell again. So Van Dorn goes past. Sarah Moore comes in for her only stop. Her teammate Jess Hawkins is inside the top 10 for Surtees. 3 drivers out of the race so far. We lost Luke Browning, Nick Cassidy, who was in the lead before he retired, ending Dome's hopes for promotion this season. And a few laps before we lost Paul Aron in the Tolman. Colton Hertz, who was one of the earlier stoppers, he's in front of Ritoyo Miata, but I don't think he's going to be ahead of him for too much longer because Miata is all over the back of the Dams. And he's growing impatient to the point where he wants him out of the way as soon as possible. There goes Ritoyo Miata through on Colton Hertz for 5th place. And that move was coming all along. I don't think Hertz will have anything to respond to that. Miata is through into 4th place as well because Alexander Rossi comes in at the end of lap 23 and Tomoki Najiri is back in the pits. Has he picked up a problem as well? It looks like he may well have done. It's very early to be making a second stop at this stage. Nigerian may need to come back into the pits again before this race is over. Well, Nigeri is back in the race now, in 11th place behind Victor Martin. As for Alexander Rossi, he's in 15th position behind Théo Pourchaire. Riel aiming for another haul of points. They got both cars in the points last time out in Sepoong, which is a rarity for team manager Ed Hunter. Interestingly, Riel's previous 3 occasions of getting both cars into the points, one of which was here in Sepang in Season 2. That was when they had the Swiss driver Neil Yarni and Mike Conway in the team back then. Jake Dennis in 23rd position. No chance of him scoring points from where he is now. All he can be fighting for is for the fastest lap point. Overtake a few cars, but that's as good as it will get for him. There's plenty of drivers to drop out further up the field. Abby Pullin, who's behind... Sorry, that's not Abby Pullin. Is it Abby Pullin? Yeah, it is Abby Pullin, who's ahead of Patso Ward for 18th position, but I think O'Ward, who's only just been in the pits, is about to go back through ahead of her. O'Ward through. The IndyCar ace, passing the F1 Academy champion of 2024. And the former LaRousse driver, Callum Ilott, in the lead for Carlin, looking ever so strong. Gone in for his 3rd win in a row. Nick de Vries gets through on Dennis Hauger for 16th place at turn 4. Miata, who's got through, and Colton Hertzen for 3rd place now. Next driver ahead of him is Louis Foster, who's in P2. Another 4 seconds up the road. Hirakawa in 5th place, in front of Campbell and Van Dorn. Campbell was able to respond to Van Dorn's fight through the field. And this battle for P5 is becoming one of the best of the race so far, if not the best. And Campbell will get into the slipstream and have a go on the Carlin. Ram do need these points. They've got both cars in the running. Pelot is down in 12th position behind Martin. They need every point they can get, do Ram, but their hopes for promotion are slipping away as much as don't. Alexander Rossi getting through on Taz Inthapuvasat for 13th place. Tommy Kinijiri's in 9th behind Jess Hawkins. And about 4 seconds off her. Hawkins is in 8th. Seconds is the margin between Ilott and Foster for position. Ilott in the lead, Foster in 2nd. Louis Foster's podium. Coming in Autopolis. Pulling, doing her best to keep her car on the track. far so good for Carlin. They're doing all they need to do to wrap up the team's championship today. Prima and Andretti. Well, it's kind of a different scenario. Well, I say it's a different scenario. It's more difficult for Andretti than we predicted, but Dome are already out of it, and Ram need to outscore Andretti by 18 points or more to keep it going, and at the moment they're not doing enough. So even with the Andretti's outside of the points, both De Vries and Dennis, they will still seal promotion here in Sepang. We'll see Pelot's been overtaken by Alexander Rossi for 12th place. Rossi opened his Season 4 points account last time out in Sepoong. We'll see Ilott, of course, for his 5th win of the season. As far as the all-time list is concerned, he's already won 5 races in his career, I should say. If he was to win today, he'll go joint second with Antonio Felix da Costa on the all-time list. Scott Dixon will be the only driver to have won more. We'll see a pit stop over at Prima at the end of lap 27, and likewise at Dome for Ritomo Miata. Colton Herta likewise. As far as Ryo Hirakawa is concerned, he'll be going to the end. He goes up into 2nd place, but will he stay there? Taz Bumsack comes in for 40. Matt Campbell as well. Just looking at a potential incident involving Inthapuvasek and Pelot. Inthapuvasek gets up the inside. Pelot had to leave him room there to ensure that Inthapuvasek got into the pit lane safely. I don't think any action will be taken on that. There goes Hirakawa and Van Dorn. They were on the one stop, those two. But given the pace we have seen from the 2 stoppers, I don't think it's likely that they will stay in the podium places by the checkered flag. But we'll see. Topher Van Dorn has been instrumental in Zack Speed's form this season, even though they're not in the promotion fight. They have scored points in each of the last 11 rounds. Rossi and Miata nearly colliding at turn 7. That was very close to Miata taking Rossi out there. There's a pit stop over at Callum Ilott is in, but with the gap he had over his teammate, he should stay in the lead. Behind Hirakawa and Van Dorn, you've got the 2 Primas of Najiri and Foster in 4th and 5th. There goes Miata on Rossi for 7th place. He gets the move done at last. Martin comes in, so that's another position gain for Miata. And Foster is about to go through on Najiri for 4th place. Not hanging around. Foster on the fresher tyres to his teammate, and 4th position is his. Pelot, Martin, Pourchaire, De Vries, Hauger, Pullin, all in the pits for their 2nd and final stops. There is Hirakawa ahead of Van Dorn. Now Hirakawa can still mathematically finish 2nd in the Drivers' Championship, but he needs Najiri to fall away at some point, and that's proven to be unlikely at the moment, but third place is still very much on. Ilott's lead is over 6 seconds on Hirakawa after he's pitted. Ilott might be able to go for a fast as that point. See an overtake from the Coloni of... That was Kimi Antonelli on Sarah Moore. The Italian is through at last. Hirakawa and Van Don in second and third places. Foster and Nichiri in fourth and fifth. And someone's blown up ahead of Max Gunther, and it's Nick de Vries who is going to be pulling out of the race after a really ignominious round for him. The car is on fire. It's game over for the Dutchman. It's going to be another race without points for de Vries. That's the fourth time in a row he's not going to be scoring. And he pulls off the circuit. Although de Vries pulls out with his teammates still going at the back. They're still on course to wrap up promotion with Ram not scoring enough and Dome completely out of it. De Vries is the fourth driver to retire from the event. His teammate Jake Dennis has just gone into the pits for his last stop. He'll stay on the lead lap before Ilott gets round. The only consolation that Dennis can go for is the fastest lap point. And Hawkins is also pulling off with a problem, and that's her race over. It's a shame because she was running well again, but a loose wheel has forced her to pull out. Looking at her form, it's the first time since rounds 2 and 3 at Buenos Aires and Indianapolis that Hawkins has failed to score points in consecutive races. In more important matters, with the positions as they are, Carlin will wrap up the team's championship. Kramer and Andretti will be heading up to League One with them in Season 5. Second place in the Drivers' Championship will be sealed for Tom Mikinichiri if he remains where he is. Two more drivers out of this then, de Vries and Hawkins joining Luke Browning, Nick Cassidy and Paul Aron. And Hirakawa has made a mistake through turn 5, and that's allowed the Kramer of Louis Foster to close up behind. Foster got in front of Van Dorn not too long ago, and he could well be getting through on Hirakawa in a moment. The Kramers running well as they are. They could well be getting both cars onto the podium, unless Ritoyo Miyata has something to say about that. So that's into through on Sarah Moore, the only Certes left in the race now. He's in 14th as we speak. Ilott and Hirakawa 1 and 2, but for how long? Foster up the inside of Hirakawa. Second place goes back in the way of Foster, who's had an absolutely brilliant race so far. It's unlikely he'll catch Ilott, but second place will most certainly do for him again. Hirakawa is staying in the slipstream though. He might fancy a move back on the inside of Foster, but the move is completed. Turns 5 and 6, a lead of 14 seconds now on the Brit of Louis Foster. Heavy pull-in, pulling off an overtake on Max Gunther at the last turn. That's her through and gaining another place. Ilott leads the race in ahead of Foster. Hirakawa in third. It's Van Dorn, Nijiri, Miata, Rossi, who's on the one stop, is 7th, and it's Colton Herter, Patrick Ward, and Matt Campbell inside the top 10. Even though Andretti and Prima are going up as it stands, there's still a battle for second place in the Teams Championship to fight for between the pair of them. Although if Andretti were to outscore Prima by at least 40 points in this race, which won't happen now anyway because De Vries is already out, so it'll go to the last round in Phillip Island, whatever happens from here. Nijiri, who's behind Van Dorn, not able to go through just yet, I don't think. Miato's looming in behind as well. A good drive from Miata from the back of the field. Dennis doing the best he can to stay in touch with the others in this race. 17 seconds behind Matteo Corelli in 20th. All the stops are more or less done. Andretti will not be coming away with any points. Meanwhile, Prima are doing all they need to do in their quest for promotion and finishing second, and Miata nearly colliding with Van Dorn at turn number 7, getting away with it. Martin in 20th position behind Kimi Antonelli. He's not had an awful lot to do, if we're being honest. Callum Ilott is 9 laps away from sealing the Team's Championship for Carlin Hirakawa, having a better race of it for once. He'll keep his hopes of finishing 3rd in the Drivers' Championship alive, but Nijiri is about to wrap up the runner-up position. Miata going through on Van Dorn for 5th place. Nice overtake from Ritoyo Miata. And Callum Ilott's out from the race lead. Callum Ilott has pulled off at turn 1 on lap 34, 8 laps from the end of this one. The Lead 2 Drivers' Champion retires from the Lead 2 Sepang Grand Prix, and it's Louis Foster who takes over leadership. Well, that has come as a bit of a shock, hasn't it? Foster leads, Hirakawa second, it's Nijiri, Miata, Van Dorn, Herter, Rossi, O'Ward, Campbell and Antonelli who move up positions into the points. Now that's going to make things more interesting now, because with Foster in the lead and Nijiri in 3rd place, the fact that Foster's got the fast lap point, that will give them 41 championship points. Carlin will only be getting 19, which means the Team's Championship for Carlin will not mathematically be sealed here today. Louis Foster, who is competing in his 11th Grand Prix World Series race, is on course for his maiden win and Prima's 2nd of the season. Nijiri won in Mugello. Now, the only way, or one of the only ways, that Carlin can still wrap up the Team's Championship is for Hirakawa to get past Foster, or for one of the Primas to hit trouble. And Miata is in the pits for Dome. More problems for David Young's team. That very much sums up their season. Reliability problem after reliability problem after reliability problem. It's just not been their year, has it? We see an overtake from Matt Campbell on Kimi Antonelli for 8th position. Miata rejoins in 12th, behind Inthapuvasak. Below is in 14th place, ahead of Sarah Moore. What might it have been for him this campaign? Siriko is just in front of Najiri. There's Jake Dennis, who locks up at turn 1. He is now 8 seconds behind Caroli, so he might pass him towards the end, but that's as good as it will get for him. 6 drivers out of the race: Callum Ilott, Jess Hawkins, Nick De Vries, Luke Browning, Nick Cassidy and Paul Aron. 6 laps remaining here in Sepang. Miata's just got past. It has Inthapuvasak for 11th place. If he's lucky, it might go for a fast lap point. He's less than a couple of seconds behind Victor Martin, so he might just get back into the points. Will the Japanese. Now Louis Foster in P1. We've seen on a number of occasions this season where the leader had dropped out in the final few laps, like what we saw in Sepoong with Nick Cassidy, like what we saw with Matt Campbell in Dijon Burgoyne. You just never know in this championship. You never know. There is Najiri in 3rd place. He'll wrap up 2nd in the Drivers' Championship as it stands. Miata trying to get through on Martin on the inside. Don't think he got the move done. But this is frustrating him even more. One driver is not going to be frustrated in any shape or form is Alexander Rossi in 6th place for Real. This will please Ed Hunter without a shadow of a doubt. And they might just catch up to Surtees in the fight for 10th place in the Teams Championship for Real. They're coming on form at this stage of the season. They've scored in the last 3 rounds and they're about to make it 4. Which is something they've not achieved before in their entire history in the GPWS. 5 laps remaining. Louis Foster's lead is nearly 7 seconds over Rio Hirakawa. Prima and Andretti are about to seal promotion to League One. Carlin, who looked like they were going to be sealing the Teams Championship, are not going to be doing so as it stands. They're about to score 19 points. Prima are about to score 41. Which means the gap between Carlin and Prima will come down to 42 points with 45 still left on the table. So it's not mathematically done yet. Andretti are already out of the running for the Teams Championship. Miata's got past Victor Martin for 10th place. He's now 1.5 seconds behind the Coloni of Kimi Antonelli. Colton Hertz in a strong 5th place for Dams. We haven't seen too much of that from him this season, given the shenanigans he's been involved in. We see Matt Campbell, who's right behind Pato O'Ward. Campbell, who's on the 2 stop, O'Ward on the 1. Enough dice for what is 7th position. Miata has overtaken Kimi Antonelli for 9th place. He's got another 7 seconds to make up on Matt Campbell in the final 4 laps. And what a drive again for Topher van Dorn. Back-to-back 4th places he is on course for. He'll remain in 7th place in the Drivers' Championship. He'll close up to within 1 point of Nick de Vries. He'll drop behind Rio Hirakawa in the table. And you see Louis Foster in P1 on course for his first Grand Prix World Series victory at the 11th attempt. Campbell ahead has come down to 5.6 seconds. Getting the gap down all the time. If you remember in Season 2, I believe it was Sam Bird who pulled off a move on Alex Wirtz on the last lap in the League 2 race to take the final podium position. Miata could well need that here if he's to get into 8th place ahead of O'Ward, or ahead of Campbell. Maybe O'Ward as well if he's feeling it. There's Dennis Hauger passing Sarah Moore for 15th position. And Jake Dennis has got through on Matteo Corelli for position. That is little consolation for him here. Rio Hirakawa in 2nd place doing his best, but Carlin are not doing enough to wrap up the team's championship today. Sarah Moore on the inside of Hauger trying to fight back, but she can't quite do it. So Hauger keeps hold of the place on merit. 4.2 seconds is the margin between Campbell and Miata. Number 12. Tom Herter is catching him. I think Herter may well be on the 1 stop as well. Or maybe on the 2 stop, I should say. Just do Saxby's run of points finishes going. Penultimate lap then. Foster on his way to victory here in Malaysia. Victor Martin in 11th place behind Kimi Antonelli. He may just miss out on points, but you never know. Someone could well drop out on the last lap. So keep going until the end. The gap between Campbell and Miata is now 2.2 seconds. Miata might just have enough time to pass him, even on this lap. Sector 1, it's come down to 1.7 seconds. It's already taken half a second out of his margin in the first sector alone. Bearing in mind, it's only 3 corners for that first sector. Kimi Antonelli in the final points paying position for Coloni. In 3rd place, looking good to wrap up 2nd place in the Drivers' Championship behind Callum Ilott. The battle for 3rd position will go to the end with Dennis Palou, Hirakawa, de Vries and maybe Topher van Dorn as well. And looking at the table as it stands, as we've got 1 lap to go in this race, Colin will not wrap up the team's championship. That will go to the end. Prima and Andretti will be promoted to League 1 with them. Colin will need just 3 points in the last race at Phillip Island to be sure of the team's championship. We go back to Louis Foster, who's driven a splendid race. He did need some luck along the way, and he got it here with Callum Ilott pulling out with Mechanical Gremlins. And Colton Herter has dropped out from 5th place on the last lap in the dams. That is really disappointing for Phil Kincher's team. Herter, who is on course for his best ever result. No points for him here. And that will move Victor Martin up into the final points place. A water leak is the cause. And Miata's got through on Campbell at the end of the previous lap. He's now right behind Pato Award, so he might just take 6th place away from him. We look at Louis Foster, a young Brit coming through the junior ranks. Raced in Indy NXT in 2024. In the Grand Prix World Series, substituting for Will Power after the first few rounds. And he's shown why he belongs in this series. One more corner to go for Louis Foster, who's about to take his first win in this championship and Prama's second of the campaign. Louis Foster exits the last corner to win the League 2 Sepang Grand Prix. Prama are promoted to League 1 for Season 5. With that result, what a drive from Louis Foster. Ryo Hirakawa finishes second, ahead of Tomoki Najiri. Carlin do not wrap up the team's championship today, but they are very close to doing that. Stoff van Don 4th for Zach Speed. Alexander Rossi with a strong drive to 5th for Real. What a result for them. Pato Ward just holds off Ritomo Miata to the flag for 6th place. Miata recovering to 7th. Campbell 8th, Antonelli 9th, and Martin in 10th place. Prama and Andretti are promoted with Carlin, despite Andretti getting no points today. Ram and Dome scoring nowhere near enough to what they needed to be getting here. All 3 promotion places in League 2 are sealed. What a day for team managers Alex Johnston and Linus O'Hall. Alex Johnston went down with Midland at the end of Season 3. Bounces back at the first time of Arskin. As for Linus O'Hall, first season in the RML, promotion to League 1. What a day for him. Celebrating long into the night. Matteo Corelli, the last finisher in 19th place, taking the checker flag. It's a win for Louis Foster in Sepang in League 2. Prama and Alex Johnson are promoted to League 1. Ryo Hirakawa second, ahead of Tomoki Najiri. Stoff van Dorn 4th, ahead of Alexander Rossi in 5th for Real. Pato Ward 6th, Ritomo Miata in 7th. Matt Campbell 8th, Kimi Antonelli 9th. And Victor Martin taking the final point for Zach Speed in 10th place. In 11th, looking further down the classification, we've got Tazin Thapuvasek, Teo Porsche 12th. Alex Palou in 13th place after a really difficult drive. Dennis Hauger 14th, Sarah Moore ahead of Abu Pulim, Matt Skunter, Jake Dennis, who had an absolutely torrid day today in 18th place. Matteo Corelli 19th, and Colton Herter, who was running in 5th position before he dropped out on the last lap of the Water League, 20th on his classification. Callum Ilott retiring from the lead. Colin would have been team's champions today, but not to be. That will go on to Phillip Island. Jess Hawkins, Nick DeFries, Luke Browning, Nick Cassidy, who we also lost from the lead, pulled out in the early stages. Paul Owen was the first to retire with suspension problems. The pole position point went to Callum Ilott, the fast lap point going in the way of today's race winner, Louis Foster. It's a brilliant day for the Prama team and for the Andretti team. They are joining Carlin in League 1 in Season 5, which means it's the end of the hopes of Dome and Ram, who once again miss out on promotion this time around. They'll be hoping for better luck in Season 5, hoping that they can at last join the elites in the top flight. Carlin need 3 more points in Phillip Island to be absolutely sure that the team's championship will be going in the way of Perry Brown's team. It's time to run down on the League 2 drivers and teams championships in the voice of Topher Smith, and we'll be back for the League 1 race very, very shortly.
Well, what a contest here in Sepang. Our 21st race winner of the season across both leagues. Louis Foster picking up his maiden Grand Prix World Series victory. What a result for him and for the Prema racing team. But what has this done to the championship standings? Well, in the drivers, as we already know, Callum Ilott is your reigning champion, and Tomakina Jiri with his podium today has been confirmed as the League 2 vice champion. So congratulations to him and to Alex Johnston for getting that accolade this season. Jake Dennis is third in the championship as it stands, only 4 points ahead of Ria Hirakawa and a further 3 ahead of Palou. So third place in the championship, still all to play for at the last round in Phillip Island. Looking to the team standings as well, all 3 promotion spots have been confirmed. Carlin, Prema Racing and Andretti will be going up to League 1 next season. So congratulations to Perry Brown, Alex Johnston and Linus O'Howell for getting themselves promoted into League 1 for Season 5. But as far as the title goes, it is not quite over yet. Carlin on 297, Prema on 255. It is going to take a miracle for Prema to win the title and take it away from Carlin, but at least it gives us something to play for in the League 2 race at the last round of the season in Phillip Island. Let's look ahead to League 1 now and remind ourselves of the standings heading into today. 2 rounds to go, and Felix Rosenquist has a 12-point advantage over Scott McLaughlin. 129 plays, 117 as it stands. Earl Bamber third in the championship on 114. And Sebastian Buemi, leading the championship earlier on in the season, has had a run of 5 retirements in a row and really needs to get a result if he is to keep himself in the championship hunt going into the last round. Still in contention as well mathematically, Joseph Newgarden, Jean-Eric Verne and Mahavir Raghunathan. Who would have thought that Raghunathan would be in contention for the championship with 2 rounds to go? But it has been a brilliant season from the BAR driver. 2 victories so far. Could he add to that in the last 2 rounds? Our outgoing champion, Scott Dixon, currently 8th in the standings, and he is mathematically out of contention to make it a 3rd championship in a row. And rounding out the top 10 as it stands, Kamui Kobayashi in the Simtek and Raffaele Marcello in the Force India. Looking at the teams, we still have 4 teams in mathematical contention. Leighton House on 224, Prost on 202, Arrows on 163, and HRT on 159. Those 4 teams also safe from relegation into League 2 next season, while everyone from BAR down still mathematically able to be relegated, but of course some are more likely than others. BAR there on 133, Force India on 111, Minardi and Simtek share 102 points each, Onyx on 80, Mana on 52, Fomitel 49, Mastercard Lola 42, and propping up the field Pacific on 22. It is going to be a humongous battle between those teams to fight off relegation. We can't wait to see what the outcome is going to be. We have some driver changes to make note of in the League 1 race before we get this one underway. The first of those coming at the Arrows team, where Oliver Rowland has returned to his race seat in place of Kyle Kirkwood, wanting to give Rowland a chance to prove himself and get some points for the team ahead of the driver draft for next season. Rowland's getting an opportunity to show that he can still be competitive in this championship. The second driver change comes at the Simtek team, where Oliver Behrman has been replaced by Enzo Fittipaldi for the last 2 races, giving Fittipaldi a chance to show what he can do before the Season 5 driver draft. And finally, at the Mastercard Lola team, Roman Grosjean has picked up his 4th race ban of the season, and Marcus Johansson, the team manager of the team, absolutely could not believe what he was seeing in Sepoong as Grosjean took Felix Rosenquist out of the race and earned himself yet another disqualification and race ban. Grosjean should return for the last race in Phillip Island, but for now he is being replaced once again by Mick Schumacher, getting another chance to prove what he is capable of. But how has the grid shaped up in what is a first opportunity for Felix Rosenquist to claim the championship? Well, Rosenquist will start third because on the front row is Sebastian Buemi and Scott McLaughlin. Buemi doing what he needs to do to keep himself in contention. Same for McLaughlin as well. 3 championship contenders in the top 3. Roland did an incredible job on his return to put the Arrows 4th on the grid, immediately qualifying better than what Kirkwood's been able to do for the last few rounds. Earl Bamber, another one of our championship contenders, will start 5th ahead of Jean-Eric Verne, Nicholas Latifi, Joseph Newgarden, Scott Dixon and Antonio Giovinazzi rounding out the top 10. Christopher Bell will start from 11th in the HRT, with Mahavir Raghunathan needing to keep his championship hopes alive with a better qualifying, but only able to go 12th on the grid. Jack Aitken, 13th in the Force India ahead of Kevin Estra. Dale Kvyat and Mick Schumacher, the 2 NASCAR Lolas, qualifying together. Lawrence Van Tor, 17th in the Onyx ahead of Shane Van Gisbergen. Raffaele Marcello and Felipe Nasr rounding out the top 20. And at the back, Mitch Evans, Kamui Kobayashi, Pietro Fittipaldi, Marcus Ericsson, Brendan Hartley, and Enzo Fittipaldi on his debut will start last, 1.7 seconds off the pace. Not necessarily a reflection of his ability, but more in the lack of pace in the car. Well, that is the grid. Can Felix Rosenqvist take this opportunity to claim the Grand Prix World Series League One Drivers' title in his rookie season? There is only one way to find out. We're going to get back to the commentary box and hand back over to Tom. Tom, take it away.
Today is the day where Felix Rosenqvist could become the Grand Prix World Series champion for the first time, but he's got a number of contenders looking to stop him and take the fight to Phillip Island for the finale. Lights are on, lights off, and it's go in Sepang for one last time here in League One. Buemi leads ahead of McLaughlin, who gets off the line brilliantly. Buemi pulling away from pole position. And we're looking at Newgarden and Roland, who have got in front of Rosenqvist, who's had an absolutely terrible start once again. But at least he's kept himself going, unlike what happened last time in Sepoong. He is down to 9th place. I think he was on the 2nd row of the grid was Rosenqvist. He was 3rd on the grid, down to 9th already. Has he hit trouble at the start? We'll find out in a moment. Buemi leads, McLaughlin 2nd. It's Newgarden. Roland, who is back for his first race in a long time. Then it's Dixon in 5th for Minardi. Had a Jean-Eric Verne, Mahavir Raghunathan in 7th. And it's Lawrence Van Tor, Felix Rosenqvist, and Earl Bamber inside the top 10. Right on board with Oliver Roland, who's going for it on the lane house of Joseph Newgarden. That move didn't quite pull off in the end, but he'll be back for more. Up there, a lot higher than what he had seen from Kyle Kirkwood, who was in his car for a number of races, but Roland is back in the seat this time around. Sebastian Buemi, who's failed to finish in the last 5 races, he really needs a strong result today to keep his hopes alive. It's the same for Scott McLaughlin, Earl Bamber, Joseph Newgarden, Jean-Eric Verne, and weirdly Mahavir Raghunathan, who's 49 points behind. He could still mathematically take the championship to the last round, but it's increasingly slim for him. Buemi doing his best so far, but we're looking at Rosenqvist, who's recovering after a torrid getaway on the inside of Lawrence Van Tor, and Rosenqvist is through into 8th place. So a long way to go in this one. Fast lap is exchanging, but it's only the first lap that's completed. And Scott Dixon is on the move in the Minardi. He's gone through on Oliver Roland for 4th place. And Lawrence Van Tor back on the inside of Rosenqvist into 8th position. Rosenqvist won't have seen that one coming. And he's back behind the Onyx again. It's not just the Drivers' Championship that is on the line. There's also the Teams' Championship, both at the top and at the bottom. Pietro Fittipaldi in the Pacific has had to come in for repairs. Pacific will go down today if they are outscored by Mana, Fomitel or Marscod Lola by a certain number of points. Here we see Marcus Ericsson, who is in need of helping Hugh Gale's team to stay in the fight for survival as well. There's a long way to go. Cars dicing for position all the time. They need a good haul of points today, do Fomitel, as do Marscod Lola, who are going into this round 10 points from safety. Mana, who occupied 10th position, are on 52 points. Both of their drivers are outside the top 15. Felipe Nasr up there in 14th place for Fomitel. He could be in the fray for a good points finish after what we had seen from him last time out in Sepang. Bamber has got ahead of Van Sar, and I think Bamber's got ahead of Rosenquist as well. He has done. So Rosenquist is down to 10th position. This is horrifying to see from the championship leader, not doing the best compared to what we've seen from him in a number of the races this season. And Roland is through on Dixon for 4th place. We're going to through on Vern for 6th. Overtakes are happening left, right and centre so far in the early stages of this. Vern fighting back on Regunathan though through turn 2, but Regunathan is able to hold on for the time being. And through turn 3, this is interesting to see, involving Regunathan and Vern. In fact, has contact been made, or has Regunathan hit a problem? I think Regunathan has picked up a problem in the BAR. He's dropped down a few positions as a consequence. There is Scott McLaughlin in 2nd place. And Bamber is trying to get through on Van Sar. He cannot afford any mistakes at this stage of the season now. Earl Bamber, if he's to come away with the Grand Prix World Series cycle this season. The positions remain as they are. Sebastian Buemi will be leading the Drivers' Championship going into Phillip Island. As for Prost, they'll close in on Leightonhouse. They might even move ahead of him in the Team's Championship. I think they actually are leading ahead of him as it stands. Van Sar, who's in front of Bamber for 7th place, is having a strong start to this. Now we see Kamui Kobayashi, who's running in 23rd place. It's been a disappointing season for Simtek, who had hoped for much more. They've had a change of management a few rounds ago, with Liv Simtek now at the reins. Someone making a lock-up into the last turn, but getting away with it. One driver who's making his debut in this round is Enzo Fittipaldi, hence why there are 2 Fittipaldis in this race. They're both down at the back. Right on board with Scott McLaughlin in 2nd place. He'll move in front of Rosenquist as it stands. Remain as they are. There'll be 5 drivers still in contention for the championship. Vern and Regunathan will be the ones dropping out. Buemi dominated proceedings in Sepoong until a suspension problem had forced him to retire with 9 laps left, and that allowed Regunathan to take over the lead and go on to win. And we look at Earl Bamber, who is in 8th place, just in front of Rosenquist. It'd be good to know who will be on the 1 stop and who will be on the 2. But Rosenquist is getting on with it here, and he needs to get through on Bamber. He is to stay in the championship lead here. He's through, and Latifi's got through on his teammate Matt Regunathan for 10th position. Vern is in 6th place behind the race winner of the League 1 round here last season, Scott Dixon. Now Bamber is fighting back on Rosenquist, and this is losing Rosenquist time. It's also losing Bamber time as they are dicing for position. Further up ahead, Scott McLaughlin in 2nd place, Newgarden 3rd. As it stands, Buemi is on course to get maximum points. He'll get 27. He'll move on to 139 points. Scott McLaughlin will be in 2nd place on 135. Rosenquist will be 3rd on 131. Newgarden will be 4th on 125. And Bamber, who's in 8th, will be on 118. And there is Buemi, doing a fine job again so far. He hasn't won since Istanbul, which was his last finish. Roland is in P2, not P2, sorry, P4. Dixon is about to be under attack from Jean-Luc Verne in a moment. A change of position between Rosenquist and Bamber again. Vergunathan and Latifi are still fighting. Now we look at Kevin Estra, who's got the two Manners right behind. Van Gisbergen and Evans. Van Gisbergen's about to go through on the Onyx. Van Gisbergen through on Kevin Estra. On map number 6, Bohemy leads McLaughlin and Newgarden. Newgarden hasn't won since Dijon Burgoyne. McLaughlin took victory at the League One Anderstorp Grand Prix. Rosenquist hasn't won since his only win at Marquette Park. Prost need this result so much. After a dismal run of form, they have failed to get either of the cars to the checker flag in the last 3 rounds. Surely it can't go on here. Verne is right behind Dixon here. He's about to head through on the Minardi into 5th place. Verne, who has got a slim shot of the Drivers' Championship, is through on the Minardi, but for how long? Is Dixon fighting back here? I think he is fighting back, and he might go through into turn 1 first. And he has not done so. Oh, I can tell you that Rosenquist is being forced off the track by Earl Bamber, and the front wing and the rear wing is gone on the arrows. Bamber locked up, forced Rosenquist off the racetrack, and imagine that Rosenquist will be penalised for it. Nothing Rosenquist could have done about that. Bamber on the inside too aggressively, and Rosenquist has got with it all to do now. He'll fall down to the back. He just needs to make sure he doesn't cause any further damage to that machine. He's back on the circuit, but he'll need to pit in to get a new front wing and rear wing fitted. And it's been decided. Now, this is not often. It's not often we see this, but the incident involving Felix Rosenquist and Earl Bamber will be investigated after the race. That is going to be very, very important, because this could actually decide the championship going into Phillip Island, or at Phillip Island. Well, we kind of know it's going to be decided in Phillip Island, but in terms of the amount of influence the decision taken on the incident, it's surely going to have a say on it, isn't it? Rosenquist out of the points now. A golden opportunity for the likes of Verne and maybe Vergunathan, although Vergunathan's down in 9th place. If Verne can stay where he is in 5th place, that would give him 10 championship points. That would still not be enough to keep him in the running. He needs, at the very minimum, 3rd place. And at the moment he's in 5th, behind Rosenquist's teammate Oliver Rowland. Jack Aiken through on Felipe Nasr for position. The Force India up to 12th. Meanwhile, McLaughlin in brilliant form right now. Failed to finish only on 4 occasions. He's finished 3rd 4 times. He picks up the win in Anderstorp. Nobody expected him to be in the championship fight going into the last race. Rosenquist into the pits for repairs, and that's blown the championship wide open. It's unlikely that Rosenquist is going to be scoring points now. He can obviously still win the championship, here in Sepang, but he needs all his rivals to really fall here and for Rosenquist to get back up towards the top end. But I can safely say that is not going to be happening here. And there goes Marcello locking up into turn number 14, but he's able to stay on the track, and he's got Antonio Giovinazzi and the mask on Lola. I think it's Mick Schumacher who is also behind. He's behind the other mask on Lola on Danica Fiat, goes into deep into 14, but he doesn't lose a position. Marcello, who is supposed to be overtaken by Giovinazzi now. I think that's inevitable. Giovinazzi on the inside. He's through. But what about Mick Schumacher? Is he going to be going for a move in the near future? Well, Marcello is fighting back on the Minardi. He's on the inside. He's gone through. So Schumacher, well, he's not able to get through just yet. Felix Rosenquist in 26th and last place. He might try and go for a fastest lap at this stage, just so that he's got that underneath him. If he does that, he'll also take it away from Sebastian Buemi. It would essentially be a 2-point swing if he does that. Shimon going through turn 7. Collision there, and Bamber is out of the race in the Leighton House. Bamber's championship hopes have taken a significant dent. It's bad news for Leighton House and for team manager Chris Cafferty. Bamber is the first out of this League One Sepang Grand Prix. It's very unlikely they'll wrap up the team's championship today now. But it's given Rosenquist a bit more hope. Bamber is still likely to be in the title fight heading into Phillip Island. But this is not what he needed at this stage in the season. He's hit in form at the wrong time. Then we see a battle between the two Simtex. Enzo Fittipaldi going through on Kamui Kobayashi. And behind those two is the Pacific of Brendan Hartley, who won the League 2 Sepang Grand Prix for Pacific last season. There we see Buemi in the race lead. Kobayashi, who crashed out of this race in Season 3 when he was hit off the track by the Prost of Marco Wittmann. And Rosenquist has got the point for the fastest lap now. And that's important because that was Buemi's a moment ago. It's now in the way of Rosenquist. Buemi, as it stands, will be on 138 points. Rosenquist will be at 130. McLaughlin will be on 135. Bamber, who won't be scoring now, will remain on 114. Newgarden will be up to 4th place on 125 points. As it stands, you can just see the title battle will go down to the last race to Phillip Island in Australia. Buemi, 3 points clear of McLaughlin. He's still wide open. In the team's championship, Leighton House and Prost will be 1 point between them. Heading into Phillip Island, HRT and Arrows are out of it as it stands. But that battle is shaping up nicely between the team managers of Leighton House and Prost. In relation to the relegation battle, no one will be going down today, as it stands, as neither Mana, Fun Mattel, Marscod Layla or Pacific have got either of their drivers inside the top 10. Now Onyx can mathematically seal safety if they were to come away with at least 17 points more, I believe, or 18 points more than the likes of Mana, Fomatel and Marscod Lola, but at the moment Van Tor, who's running in 7th place, is on course for 6 championship points, whereas Caravan is not on course for anything. So Onyx will still mathematically be in the relegation battle going into the last race at Phillip Island, but just like last season, they only needed a minimal amount to be sure. See the 2 Simtex of Enzo Fittipaldi and Kamui Kobayashi. Kobayashi ahead of the Brazilian. Rosenquist is less than 3 seconds behind the Pacific of Pietro Fittipaldi. There we see Kevin Estra overtaking Shane van Gisbergen for 16th. Nicholas Latifi is in the pits with a problem for BAR. So that's not good news for them. He was running just outside the points, I think, was Latifi. And he's fallen down the aisle. He might have been inside the points in 9th position, but that pit stop has dropped him down, and he'll be joining close to where Pietro Fittipaldi and Felix Rosenquist are. He's down to 23rd position is the BAR. He could also have a say on who gets the fast lap point in this race. Look at Sebastian Buemi. So far, so good. But we saw what happened in Sepoong. Cannot have a repeat of it here. What a drive and what a season it's been for him in his rookie campaign. And Vern is 1.2 seconds behind Roland. And Kafia is making the move on Felipe Nasser for 11th position. That could be significant later on in the event. But Nasser is looking to fight back on the man who is running an Italian licence in motor racing these days. Brazilian on the inside, and he goes back through, does Nasser. And Scott McLaughlin is over 5 seconds off the lead, doing all he needs to do. He's doing the best he can. Coming towards the first round of stops. And Scott McLaughlin's engine has gone up in smoke, and that's significant in the title battle as well. Scott McLaughlin's race is about to unravel. Can he get that car back to the pits? The answer is no. And John Munro must be devastated. Scott McLaughlin from 2nd place is out of the race. Another championship contender has hit trouble. And we've only done 13 laps. I spoke too soon. McLaughlin went into the round 2nd place in the Drivers' Championship. He's not out of it yet, but that's a really bad dent. And we see an overtake from Mick Schumacher on Antonio Giovinazzi for 13th. So all of this promotes Joseph Newgarden up to 2nd place. Oliver Renner now 3rd. Jonik Verne is 4th. Now, even where Vern finishes, his title hopes would end today. If he gets one more position, that'll be enough to keep his hopes going, unless Rosenqvist can get back into the points. Well, I can tell you that Nicholas Latifi has taken the fast start point away from Rosenqvist. Now, Sean Vern has won in Parnu. Rosenqvist has won in Mount Hewitt Park. Rosenqvist has finished second on 4 occasions. Vern has not finished second at all. Having said that, Vern can still outscore Rosenqvist on wins and tie with him. So as it stands, Vern's title hopes will go to the last race. Rosenqvist has got through on Pietro Fittipaldi for 23rd place, but he's got a mountain to climb. Newgarden is carrying all hopes for Lanehouse. They cannot afford any more mistakes here. They cannot afford any more mechanical gremlins. With Bamber out of the race, Prost are leading the team's championship as it stands. Meet in the lead. We look at Ragunathan, who's now behind the sole surviving HRT of Christopher Bell in the fight for what is 7th place. And ahead of him is Lawrence Van Tor, who's in 6th place. Rolling in 3rd place. Vern in 4th, and I think Vern's dropped back a little bit, unless I'm mistaken. No, he's around about 1.1 seconds, which was right about the margin. Has been the margin for a number of laps now. So Vern is very much settling into this race as much as Roland is. Buemi's lead is 11 seconds over 2nd place Joseph Newgarden. Kvyat attempted to get through on Felipe Nasr, but doesn't quite come off. And Kamui Kobayashi is going to be out of the race for Simtek. And they just cannot wait for the season to finish now. We're also fighting for a place to get onto the non-championship Macau Grand Prix grid, but even that is becoming a slim possibility. Kobayashi out of the race and goes no further. 15 laps done. Buemi continuing to dominate proceedings here in Malaysia. If the positions remain as they are, Buemi will pick up 26 championship points because he automatically gets the point for pole position. He'll be on 138. Rosenqvist will drop to 2nd on 129. Newgarden will be 3rd on 128. McLaughlin will be 4th on 117. Bamber will be 5th on 114. And Vern will be on 102. In actual fact, Buemi's win would end Vern's title hopes. So Vern might have to rely on Buemi not scoring at all, or if not winning the race. Well, he has to finish ahead of him in this race anyway, does Vern, if he's to keep his championship fight going. But in regards to Rosenqvist, he'll be within a full score of him, but not of Buemi. Christopher Bell got through on Lawrence Van Tor for 6th place at turn 1. Look at Marcello, who's behind Fiat for 11th place. Bernaz's point in 10th would not be enough to move Von Mattel out of the relegation zone. There we see Roland in P3. Aiken on a move on Mavi Ragunathan for 8th place. And just as he does that, he comes into the pits behind Lawrence Van Tor and Christopher Bell. There's going to be a lot of pit lane activity. Bell is in, as is Van Tor, as is Aiken, Ragunathan and Nazar are also in. It looks like Enzo Fittipaldi is coming in for his first Grand Prix World Series stop. Okay, and you can just see the flood of cars in the pit lane now. Very busy indeed. Kvyat is in. As is Nazar. As is Evans. So at the end of lap 16 we are seeing pit stops. Oliver Rowland in third place, ahead of Verne. Arrows will fall out of the Teams Championship reckoning, as will HRT. With this race going as it is. There is Nicholas Latifi, who runs wide but keeps the car pointing the right way. This is a fight another day. I've seen a replay of the Canadian. Going way too big, gets on the grass. Keeps it on the island. Latifi, who won in Autopolis a couple of rounds ago. It's unlikely he'll be adding to that today. Here's Buemi in the lead. How far will he go before he pits? Well, I honestly think he'll do the two-stop, because the pace of his has been too strong, and Newgarden has come in from second place. See what looks like, is that Marcus Ericsson? Or was that Felipe Nasr? No, it's Felipe Nasr, because he's got Felix Rosenquist behind him, who's doing his best to get back into the points. Van Gisbergen coming in for Manor. Marcello also in for Force India. We see Getcha Fittipaldi down at the back for Pacific, who are very much consigned to a return to League 2 next season. And so Fittipaldi comes in for his first scheduled stop. He'd already been in at the end of lap 1 for repairs. He's in for the second time. So Buemi leads Rowland and Verne. We see Dixon. Don't know whether he selected the right gear on his way through turn 11. Verne scouts to Rowland. He's still run about 1.1 seconds. Clearly are setting identical lap times to each other. Buemi's in from the lead. What will Rowland and Verne do? Will Rowland stay out there? No, he is in. So Jean-Luc Verne will take over the lead of the League 1 Sepang Grand Prix. How far can the Frenchman go? And Dixon is also staying out there. He goes up into second place. And there we see Marcello, who's in front of Marcus Ericsson by the looks of it. No, it's Felipe Nasr. He's ahead of Nasr. And he might pull off an overtake here. Rosenquist has been in for his first scheduled stop in this race, so he'll be doing another one. Oh, that was Nasr locking up on the inside of Marcello. That came very close to an accident that could have been so costly to the Formital team. So it went on the inside, did Nasr, and Marcello did leave him room. But on another day with a different driver, that would have been contact, which could have resulted in disastrous consequences for both teams. Estra, Ericsson and Schumacher all in. And Nasr back on the inside of Marcello, doesn't quite do it there. Van Gisbergen goes through. Schumacher comes out of the pits. Buemi rejoining third place behind Dixon. He's well ahead of Giovinazzi and Newgarden. Is Verne looking to do the two-stop, or is he doing the one? We'll give given the pace that Roland had in comparison to Vern, I would have thought that Vern would be doing the same strategy as what Roland is doing, but I could well be wrong. Look at Christopher Bell, who's in 8th place on circuit. Roland in P7. Ahead of them is Nicholas Latifi, who came in prematurely. Don't know how far he's going. Well, Vern is in. It looks like he's going to be doing the 2-stop, so he'll rejoin behind Roland. He needs to make sure he gets out in front of Christopher Bell for the sake of track position. In my honest opinion, I don't think he's going to do that, but we'll see. Unless Christopher Bell decides that he's going to be pitting in on the same lap. So Vern rejoins behind Bell, so he's behind the HRT, which is not good news for his race. Well, Bell has already been in the pits as well, so that's an undercut completed for Bell, and so Vern has got with it all to do. At least Vern will be on a few laps fresher on his set of tyres. Dixon, who's in 2nd place, has just been overtaken by Buemi, who has already pitted. Dixon hasn't yet. Dixon's got another 10 seconds in hand over Giovinazzi, who's also not pitted yet in this race. Newgarden is another 4 seconds back from Giovinazzi. Minardi's strategy may well pay off later. So far in this race, we've seen Rosenqvist, Bamber and McLaughlin hit trouble. Sebastian Buemi posted a new fast lap of the race, and that's convenient for him as far as his championship is concerned. As it stands, Buemi will be leading the Drivers' Championship by 10 points over Rosenqvist. Newgarden will be 3rd. McLaughlin and Bamber will still be in the running. Jean-Luc Verne and Matvei Rugonathan will drop out of contention. In the Teams' Championship, the gap between Leightonhouse and Prost will be cut down to just 3 points going into the last round. Arrows and HRT fall out of contention. In relation to the relegation battle involving Manor, Von Mattel, Marscott Layla and Pacific, Hartley's inside the points in 10th place, but he's yet to stop. He's the only one out of those 4 teams which we've just mentioned who's inside the points, so there's hardly any difference involving them. No one will be going down today. Manor will be ahead of Von Mattel, Marscott Layla and Pacific in 10th going into the last round. Still a long way to go yet in this one, and a lot can still change. Marcello trying to get through on Danica Fiat from P12. Didn't quite come up in the end. Buemi holds the point for the fastest lap, which is important for the championship. He had that for a period of time. Rosenqvist then had it for a few laps, and Latifi took that away. Buemi has it back again. There's Giovinazzi, who's in front of Newgarden for position. There's no blue flags involved, so Newgarden will have to fight for this one. Lawrence Van Tor, who has pitted, makes his way through past the Pacific of Brendan Hartley. And will Hartley come into the pits in this lap? Yep, so he's using the opportunity to come into the pit straight away for his only stop for Hartley, which is his only hope of salvaging anything from this race. Fiat going through on Lawrence Van Tor for 10th. Marscott Layla, 10 points from safety coming into this round. They need to get both cars home ideally to keep their hopes in staying in League One intact and avoid a second relegation in 3 seasons. Buemi Boemi's lead is 7 seconds over Dixon, but Dixon is dropping back since he is on much older tyres to the Swiss. Newgarden still hasn't got through on Giovinazzi yet. Van Tor in 11th place behind Kvyat. Behind Van Tor is Rafael Marcello, who's got Felipe Nasr for company. There is Marcus Ericsson, the League 2 Drivers' Champion of Season 3, in 18th position for Fomitel. Where will his future lie for next season? He can still be a Fomitel driver, no matter which division the team will be in for Season 5. We've got pit lane activity down at Minardi. Dixon is in from 2nd place, as Newgarden goes past Giovinazzi for P2. Important for Newgarden's championship. Giovinazzi down to 3rd place on circuit. Dixon will rejoin, I think, behind Kvyat. Yes, he will rejoin behind Kvyat. In fact, he's behind quite a number of drivers, is Dixon, so he's got a lot of cars to get back through. If he's got any hope of finishing on the podium. 13th position he's in now, is Dixon. In contrast, Boemi is having no such worries. 19 seconds clear over Joseph Newgarden. Rosenquist, for your information, is outside the top 15. He's not on course to be picking up any points. Giovinazzi is ahead of Roland and Verne on the road. I'd imagine he'll be in the pits at the end of this lap. And there is the Arrows and the Pros. And we look at the HRT of Christopher Bell, who's in front of Jack Aiken, Matt Verhoeven and Danica Kvyat and Lawrence Van Tor. Dixon's sending one up the inside of Rafael Marcello to go into 12th place. Giovinazzi is in for Minardi, as we look at Latifi, who locks up. Rosenquist is down in 21st position for Arrows. He's ahead of Brendan Hartley and Pietro Fittipaldi. And there's an engine fire for Oliver Rowland in his first race back for the team. And Arrows' season goes from bad to worse. Their race goes from bad to worse. Their championship hopes are over for the team's championship. Rowland will be pulling to the side, and he's out of the race. Christopher Bell will go through in a moment. More rotten luck for Topher Smith's team, who have been hampered with problems all season. They've not got both cars to the finish of a Grand Prix since round 8 at the Nürburgring. And you can just see the Force India trying to get through. That's Jack Aiken. He's been held up there. But out of the race goes Oliver Rowland. The race is over for him. Now, is that car going to be lifted over the barrier? Should do. Shouldn't really cause any problems. And yet, the car is being lifted over, as the car is just going to be left there for the foreseeable future. Newgarden in 2nd place, and Jean-Luc Verne is now 3rd for Prost. Verne will be on 105 points, but he will still fall out of contention because Boemi will be 33 points clear, or 34 points clear as it stands, making it impossible for Verne to become champion of the Grand Prix Series for the second time. Buemi in the lead, Newgarden second. Verne is another 6 seconds behind the Leighton House. Prost have never celebrated a 1-2 finish in the Grand Prix Series. And there is Dixon, who's already back up into 9th position. And Rowland's retirement has allowed Kvyat and Nasser to move up positions in 7th and 8th. Dixon, who's already done the one stop, he'll be going to the end. But he is going to be under massive pressure to stay towards the front. Newgarden continuing to drop back from Buemi. The gap is now going up to 22 seconds. Marcello in 11th place. There is Aiken. He's in 5th for Force India. Having another strong race. More points coming in the way for Ed Spencer, looking to amass the points needed for his team to be on the non-championship Macau Grand Prix grid, which will involve the highest scoring top 13. The highest scoring 13 teams across the Grand Prix Series. Simtek and Minardi tied in 13th and 14th in that reckoning. But Minardi have picked up more wins than Simtek. Looks like it's going to be Minardi taking that final position over Liv Simtek's team. Though having said that, Colonia on 89 points. They got something out of today's race in the lead 2 of them. It was very, very little that they got. We watch Joseph Newgarden, the only Leighton House left in the race. Jim Nazi gets past Shane van Gisbergen for 14th. Going through turn 2, 15 laps away from his 3rd win of the season, his 6th, or the 6th in the Grand Prix Series career of the Swiss, but more importantly, going into the last round in Phillip Island as the championship leader. Only mechanical trouble can stop him now, but that has been the case for him in the last 5 events. Newgarden will know that all too well. If Buemi drops out of this and Newgarden was to win this race, providing Rosenqvist doesn't score that many points, Newgarden would go into the lead of the championship going into the last round. Third, if he was to get 2nd place and Buemi only coming away with the pole position and fast lap points, he would remain in contention as well. There is Newgarden, who continues to lock up. Verne is closing down him in all the time. Prost will be into the lead of the team's championship as it stands. They all get... Well, I say that, I mean, Buemi's just come in for his final stop. Hope that's not a premature one, I don't think it is. But Buemi is in for his last stop. And he'll rejoin, probably around about where Jean-Luc Verne is. So Newgarden will go into the lead. Verne will go into 2nd place, ahead of Buemi. Rosenqvist is still in the race, albeit in 20th position. He's about 3 seconds behind Enzo Fittipaldi in 19th. We're seeing more drivers coming into the pits now. And Jack Aiken is the latest to drop out of the race in the Force India. What's happened to him? It's a mechanical problem. There's another one gone. You can see the car ripping to shreds, splitting in two for Jack Aiken. A disappointing sight for team manager Ed Spencer. Suspension problem causing the Brit to pull out. And that's good news for the likes of Danny Kafia and Felipe Nasr, because they need to get points to close down on Manor in the fight for survival. So all these pit stops has allowed Rosenquist to go up into 12th place, but he's expected to pit in again before this race is over. There we see Ericsson and Latifi in 9th and 10th. Verne will want to let Buemi go through in a moment, and he's about to let his formulary rival to go through here. Buemi through on Verne, no problem, as Verne comes in for his final stop. I think Newgarden might be in as well. He is. So Buemi takes back the lead of the race. He might have the chance to go for another fastest lap, just to assure himself that he'll keep hold of that point whatever happens from here on in. Dixon will go up into second place. He's going to the end on the one stop, remember. Is Vansor going to go through as well in the Onyx? The answer is no. So Giovinazzi will head past Verne. Is he through on Newgarden? He is. So it's a Minardi 2 and 3, but Newgarden and Verne will be on the fresher tyres. Now it's possible that Verne might go for a fastest lap if he's feeling it. He will be on a lap fresher tyres to what Buemi is on. So we'll wait and see. But Newgarden is stuck behind Antonio Giovinazzi. Giovinazzi, who raced in Formula 1 for the Alfa Romeo team from 2019 to 2021. He also made a couple of appearances for the team who were known as Sauber at the beginning of 2017, when he had to substitute for the unfit Pascal Wehrlein in Australia and China. And since his exit from F1, he's gone to achieve success for Ferrari, most famously at the 24 Hours of Le Mans in 2023, when he, James Collado and Antonio Franco, I think it was, celebrating victory on that occasion, ending Ferrari's drought of winning the 24 Hours of Le Mans. 58 years, I think it is, to be exact. Dixon, meanwhile, who's in second place, on course for another good result. He's already out of championship contention, which means he will not retain his Grand Prix Series title this time, but he's looking to end the campaign on a high no matter what. Newgarden is through on Giovinazzi for position. He might have the chance to go for a fastest lap. So we could see a fast lap shootout now between the likes of Buemi, Newgarden and Verne. Buemi didn't take the fastest lap this time around, but he still has it for the time being. We've seen Lawrence Vansor through on the one stop at Brendan Hartley. Buemi is on the move, as is Kafia going through on Hartley into turn number 1. Next driver behind Hartley is Mick Schumacher. Rosenquist has been in the pits for the last time. Doesn't look like he's going to be coming away with any points in this one, which means the championship fight will be going to the last rounds at Phillip Island. Now, if you remember in Season 2, we had 5 drivers in League 1 still in contention going into the last rounds, including Robin Fryans, who led the championship without being allowed to compete because of his shenanigans in Argentina. There is the championship as it stands. Boemi 10 points clear over Rosenquist, with Newgarden in third on 125. Bamber, McLaughlin, and Vern. Well, Vern's not in contention as it stands, so we've got 5 drivers in contention for the championship. Vern and McGunnifan will be out of the championship reckoning, and if you look at the team's championship, Prost and Latehouse are tied on points. Prost are ahead on countback as it stands, and that could be what decides it at the end of the season. You never know. HRT and Arrows are out of the fray, and so it's just 2 teams fighting it out. Mick Schumacher going through on Brendan Hartley, and the next one behind Hartley is the Manor. I think it's Shane van Gisbergen. It is van Gisbergen, who's had little to celebrate in this championship, which is very disappointing for Manor, because I thought there'd be one of those fights at the front along with the likes of Prost, Latehouse, Arrows and HRT, but not to be this campaign. So 11 laps away from the finish. Boemi looking ever so good. 8 tenths is the margin between Enzo Fittipaldi and Rosenquist in the battle for 19th. Don't think it'll be too long before Rosenquist gets by. With the pace that he'll have, raw pace anyway, he should get by a number of drivers, but he's not going to get back into the points. And he still can't find a way through on Enzo Fittipaldi, unfortunately, so he'll have to wait back a little bit longer. Boemi on lap 32, 10 laps away from victory. There goes Bell on Latifi for 6th position. Nice move there from the American on the Canadian. There is Newgarden. Neither Newgarden or Verne were able to take the fast lap point away from Boemi, so it's a straight fight for position. Newgarden closing in on Dixon all the time. There goes the Manor of Mitch Evans past Brendan Hartley for 16th place. Boemi, meanwhile, keeping his composure. And there goes Rosenquist on Enzo Fittipaldi for 19th. That's another position gained for the Swede. Scott Dixon, 2nd place for Minardi. 2nd place by the end of this race. Relegation battle as it is. Felipe Nasser will be getting 2 championship points for Fonmetal. None of the other teams down at the bottom will be getting any points. Fonmetal will just be 1 point behind 10th place Manor going into the last round. Marscard Layla are not going to be scoring, and Pacific won't be either. Muscafia and Schumacher can get back into the points paying positions. Mick Schumacher is in again for the suspended Romain Grosjean. Dixon, who's now only 1.9 seconds ahead of Newgarden. Newgarden can get past Dixon. Then, looking at the points that Prost and Latehouse will be getting, Prost will get 39 points. Latehouse will be getting 15 points, which means that Prost will be ahead by 2 points over their rivals. There's 22 points in the margin coming into this round, but Prost will be outscoring Latehouse by 24 with the way things are going. Bell could finish in 6th position for HRT. They will leapfrog Arrows into third place in the team's championship. The margin will be 2 points between the pair of them as well. Latifi and McGunnathan. Good for BAR to get both of their cars scoring. They'll get 10 points with the way the positions are. They will close in on Arrows and HRT. With a chance of third place in the team's championship at the last race. One thing that is worth mentioning is that Minardi have yet to achieve a double race finish for their cars. They are the only team who have yet to register that this season. Dixon is in second place, Giovinazzi is in fifth. Newgarden is coming up behind Dixon now in the closing stages. Now this is important in the team's championship and in the drivers. Newgarden wants those extra 3 points. It will be important for Newgarden to get by because Fern will be closing in. As for Rosie Criswell, it's just been a race to forget. He'll get by a few drivers at best, but he won't be back in the points. Starts the 35th lap, and Dixon is now under attack from Newgarden. Newgarden will send one up the inside very shortly here. Very important for the championship. Joseph Newgarden up the inside of Scott Dixon, and second position goes in the way of the Leighton House. As it stands, Chris Cavanagh's team will be leading the team's championship going into the last round of the season at Phillip Island. And the only way that will change, or one of the ways it can change, is if Fern gets by Dixon in the remaining laps. And there is Brendan Hartley being overtaken by Felix Rosenquist for 18th. As they head over the line, those boy meet race winner in Hikara Pagura, race winner in Istanbul. 27 seconds clear over everyone else. If he picks up an issue and came back into the pits, he'd probably be joined behind him, but he'll be on much fresher tyres to the American, no question. And there is Vern locking up into turn 9. He won't want to be doing that too many times. He will not be in the championship fight at Phillip Island with the way things are going. It's been a much better race for Prost than it has been in recent rounds. And Dixon's hold on third place is tenuous as far as we know. Regunathan got by Latifi not too long ago as well. Regunathan and Latifi fighting for position. Further behind is Felipe Nasr. There goes Regunathan and Latifi, nose to tail. Vantor in 12th, which is disappointing considering the positive start to the race that he had had. Onyx will stay in the fight for survival. Kevin Estre is 11th, Vantor 12th. Fiat 13th, Schumacher 14th. Very close actually are the Onyxes and the Mascot Lolas. Ahead of Latifi. Seconds is the margin between Dixon and Vern. Prost need these points. Remy is 5 5 laps away from the checker flag. Vern getting the gap down again to 1.4 seconds on Dixon. Kiwi, two-time Grand Prix World Series champion, heading over the line, and the gap is now 1.2. So Dixon was able to take, Vern was able to take a couple of tenths out of Dixon's lead in the last sector alone. Probably about 1 second by the time they get to the first sector of this lap. Is 1 second between the pair of them, just under that actually. Buemi took just one win for BAR at the League One Imola Grand Prix in Season 2. He took 2 victories for Leightonhouse at the League One Sensul Grand Prix, League One Kyalami Grand Prix. This season for Prost, he took victory in Hakarapagua and in Istanbul. It's going to be victory number 3 for him for the Prost team. He will remain in contention. Buemi will go into the last round as the championship leader with the positions as they are here in Malaysia. And Vern is now right behind Dixon. We want to be going to that battle because he is all over the back of him. There's Giovinazzi looking up towards turn 14. But Vern is all over the back of Dixon as they go onto the pit straight. There he is, look, there is Vern. As they cross over the line, the gap is less than 6 tenths. If Vern can get on with this, a podium position could well be coming his way. Ericsson is passed by Felix Rosenquist. Rosenquist up to 17th. Position gain there for the Swedish driver, but it's like the consolation. The only consolation that you can take from this is the fact that Bamber and McLaughlin aren't going to be scoring. Place ahead of Vern, but for how long? Newgarden, who's hit form at the right time. Fourth it was for him in Sepoong, third in Ortopolis. Second place he's on course for today. Pietro Fittipaldi for Pacific World. They are set for a return to League 2. They won't go down today, but they are realistically heading for the League 1 trapdoor. 3 laps to go then. Buemi's lead is nearly half a minute over Joseph Newgarden. It's been a dominant drive from the Swiss. Untroubled from start to finish. Dixon is doing his best to hold on ahead of Vern. Buemi. He's done nothing wrong at all. This is the closest he's been to victory since he lost one in Istanbul. Coming up to a Pacific very shortly, which is Pietro Fittipaldi. His teammate Brendan Hartley is outside the top 15 as well. Nazar is locked up at turn number 12. Gets away with it. 6th Grand Prix Series victory, and Newgarden will be looking to just keep his car on the circuit. Where is Dixon and Verne? There they are. Verne is at the closest he's been to Dixon since the pit stops had finished. He won't do it into the last corner, but he may do it into turn 1. This is important for the team's championship. If Verne can get by Dixon, then Prost will go to Phillip Island in the lead of the team's championship. Well, they are going to be now, because Dixon's engine has gone up in smoke 2 laps away from the finish. And yet again, Minardi have hit reliability problems at the wrong time. Just as the lap started as well. There's no way he'll get that back to the pits. Scott Dixon is out of the League One Sepang Grand Prix. And it's not going to be a double finish at the checker flag. He'll still be classified as a finisher, but he will not be getting any points again. Antonio Giovinazzi will be behind into pass, so he just needs to be careful here, does Dixon. But he's pulling to the side now. Scott Dixon is out of the race. It's important in the relegation battle as well, because Felipe Nasr for Fonmetal is up to 8th position. If he was to remain where he is, Fonmetal will be out of the bottom 3 after this race by a single point. As it stands, Buemi will go into the lead of the Drivers' Championship by 10 points over Felix Rosenqvist. Newgarden will be a further point behind if he is to remain where he is here. McLaughlin will be 4th and Bamber 5th. They all remain in contention. In the team's championship, Prost will be ahead by 2 points over Leighton House. The team's championship going down to the wire. In the relegation battle, Fonmetal, as I've already mentioned, will leapfrog Manor out of the bottom 3. Marscard Layla won't be scoring, neither will Pacific. Onyx, with Estra inside the points, they will still remain mathematically in the fight, but realistically, they'll be staying in League One next season. We go back to Sebastian Buemi. After all the hard stake he's had in the last 5 races, been in the league there and then, for it to be snatched away from him, especially what had happened last time out in Sepang, when he dominated proceedings until 9 laps remaining and the rear suspension just gave way. Today, nothing has gone wrong for the Prost team or for Sebastian Buemi. He exits the last corner. Sebastian Buemi wins the League One Sepang Grand Prix. He's into the lead of the Drivers' Championship with 1 round to go in Australia. A much needed result for the Prost team. What a day it has been for Sebastian Buemi, his 3rd win of the campaign. Joseph Newgarden over half a minute behind. Most certainly keeps himself in the running for the title. 2nd place for him, and he moves up to 3rd in the championship. Jean-Luc Vergne, despite finishing on the podium, falls out of the championship running. It's a double podium for the Prost team. They take the lead of the team's championship away from away from Leighton House by 2 points. Antonio Giovinazzi scores some points for Minardi in 4th place. Christopher Bell is 5th. Mervyn Raghunathan ahead of Nicholas Latifi in 6th. Felipe Nasr gets Fonmetal out of the bottom 3 of the team's championship heading into the last race. Very important. Rafael Marcello 9th. And Kevin Estra bags a point for Onyx in 10th. Mick Schumacher got past Lawrence Van Tor on the last lap, but no points for him. Kvyat van Gisbergen, Felix Rosenqvist, who was in the lead of the championship coming into this round, ended up in 15th position. And we are seeing the remaining drivers heading over the line. Brendan Hartley, Enzo Fittipaldi, and Enzo's older brother, Pietro Fittipaldi. I think it's his older brother. Pietro Fittipaldi, the last of the finishes for Pacific. It's a race win for Sebastian Buemi, a much needed race win here in Sepang. Joseph Newgarden second, Shonik Verne third, Antonio Giovinazzi fourth, Christopher Bell is fifth, Matt Viragonathan sixth ahead of his teammate Nicholas Latifi, both BARs inside the points. Felipe Nasr eighth for Formitel, they are out of the bottom three at Mana's expense. Rafael Marcello in ninth place for Force India, and the final point going in the way of the Onyx of Kevin Estra. Mick Schumacher 11th ahead of Lawrence Vansor, Danny Kafia ahead of Shane van Gisbergen. Felix Rosenquist after contact or being forced wide by Earl Bamber, crossing the line 15th. Mitch Evans, Marcus Ericsson, Brendan Hartley, Enzo Fittipaldi and Pietro Fittipaldi were the rest of those to finish. Scott Dixon retired with a couple laps to go with engine problems. Jack Aiken retiring also, Oliver Rowland, Kamui Kobayashi, and two championship contenders, Scott McLaughlin and Earl Bamber. That is big. That is really, really big. And a bad dent to the pair of them. Sebastian Buemi took the pole position point and the fast lap point. Maximum points for Sebastian Buemi, who is now the favourite to take the title at Phillip Island. 10 points clear over his nearest rival, Felix Rosenquist, and a further point clear over Joseph Newgarden. Scott McLaughlin and Earl Bamber drop down, but they stay in the fight for the driver's title. Jean-Luc Verne and Matt Viragonathan are mathematically out of contention for that particular title. The team's championship, well, Prost have seen or had seen the 22-point gap. Well, they have overturned it. It's now in their favour. Just 2 points clear over their rivals, Leightonhouse, heading into the last race at Phillip Island. As for the relegation battle, as I've already mentioned, Felipe Nasr's 8th place has given Hugh and Gale's team a realistic chance of staying in League One next season. Mana drop into the relegation zone, knowing they need to get something at the last round in Australia if they were to stay in League One and continue their 4-year stay. Mascot Lola and Pacific have it all to do. I think Pacific most realistically are down. Mascot Lola need the best race they have had since the winning days of League 2 if they are to remain in the top flight and avoid a second relegation in 3 seasons. It's time to run down on the League One Drivers and Teams Championships in the voice of Topher Smith. The championship is going down to the wire.
We are going to get a season finale showdown in Phillip Island. We still have both of the League One titles to be decided after today's race. Let's take a quick look at what the driver standings are heading into the last round. Sebastian Buemi, with his perfect performance today, the win, pole position and the fastest lap, moves back into the championship lead on 139 points, 10 ahead of Felix Rosenquist, who had an absolute shocker today. Could today's performance put an end to his championship title hopes? We shall see in Phillip Island. Still in contention as well, Joseph Newgarden in his podium has elevated him to third in the championship on 128, 1 behind Rosenquist and 11 behind Buemi. Scott McLaughlin fourth on 117 and Earl Bamber fifth on 114. The top 5 are the ones who will be fighting for the League One driver's title in Phillip Island. Out of contention now, Jean-Eric Verne, Mahavir Raghunathan, Scott Dixon, Nicholas Latifi and Kamui Kobayashi. That is your top 10. And we cannot wait to see which of those 5 drivers will be the one lifting the World Championship trophy. And as far as the team's title is concerned, it is down to 2. It will be Prost versus Leightonhouse. Prost looking for his first ever Grand Prix World Series title, and Leightonhouse looking to become the first team to win both League 2 and League 1. Only 2 points separates them, so it is going to be down to whichever team finishes ahead of the other. That could go all the way to the flag in Phillip Island. HRT has overtaken Arrows for third in the team standings, but is out of mathematical contention for the title, so just a top 3 position left to play for between HRT and Arrows. BAR still could mathematically take their third place as well, but they will need a more or less perfect performance. As far as a relegation battle goes, everyone down to Syntec in 8th is safe from relegation. So, looking to avoid relegation will be Onyx, Formital, Mana, Mascar Lola and Pacific Grand Prix. Formital's points finish today has put them above Mana in the standings, but only by 1 point. That is going to be an almighty battle between those at the last race of the season. Well, there is a lot to play for next time out in Phillip Island, the final round of the season. Who will be the Drivers' Champion? Who will be the Teams' Champion? Will Carlin take away the League Two team's title as well? Or will Prema pull off the seemingly impossible and overhaul them at the last round? There is only one way to find out, and that will be by tuning in next time. Until then, thank you so much for watching along with us. We can't wait to have your company in Phillip Island. Until then, take care.